What's up guys? Welcome to Dystopia. My name is Andres, and today you and I are going to analyze two rather disturbing characters, Cersei Lannister and Ramsay Bolton, to try and figure out which features are shared by psychopaths and sociopaths, as well as how to ultimately tell them apart. Let's start with the similarities. Part of the reason why psychopath and sociopath are used interchangeably is the fact they both share characteristics of antisocial personality disorder. People who suffer from this condition tend to disregard and violate the rights of others around them. More specifically, psychopaths and sociopaths will share the following symptoms. Number 1, they're egocentric. We're led to believe from very early on that Cersei Lannister's ruthlessness towards her enemies stems from her undying love for her family and her fervent desire to protect them. But does it? Redditor and self-proclaimed clinical psychologist Hugh/Rain 12913 stated on a thread that Cersei doesn't even see her family as people, but rather as extensions of herself. According to the Shrink, Cersei doesn't view others as real, complete people. Instead, she views them as either all good or all bad. This is known as splitting, and it is a defense mechanism that reflects her inability to view herself as a person capable of having both good and bad traits. Instead of coming to terms with this reality, Cersei must either embrace the belief that she is a worthless, damaged, and hopeless person, or the belief that she is impeccable, gifted, and perfect. I think we can all agree on which reality she has chosen to believe. Number 2, they are hostile.
You don't look like a Theon Greyjoy anymore. That's a name for a lord. But you're not a lord. You're just meat. Stinking meat. You reek. Reek! That's a good name for you. What's your name?
Theon Greyjoy.
What's your name?
Theon Greyjoy.
What is your name?
Reek. My name is Reek.
Number 3, they are manipulative. As we saw in the previous clip, Ramsay Bolton ripped Theon Greyjoy apart until there was nothing left besides the scarred and brutalized persona of Rick. By pushing the right buttons, however, Ramsay is capable of convincing Rick to play the part of the man he worked so hard to destroy. Once it suited him, of course. Number 4, both psychopaths and sociopaths receive a childhood diagnosis because most symptoms will appear before the age of 15. Melara Heatherspoon was a childhood friend of Cersei who accompanied Lady Lannister to visit Maggie the Frog, a witch and fortune teller that lived deep within the woods. In the books, we are treated with Maggie's Valonqar prophecy, which she told Cersei. Quote, "And when your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands about your pale white throat and choke the life from you." The witch also told Melara that her death was close, so close in fact she wouldn't survive the night. As Cersei recalls this memory, she tells herself that the prophecy came true, given that Melara drowned in a well that night. Most importantly, however, it is implied that Cersei pushed her into the well to ensure nobody would know about the prophecy of her death. Cersei Lannister was 11 years old. Given these similarities in behavior, it's no wonder psychopath and sociopath have formerly been used ambiguously, both in neuroscience and criminology. Nowadays, however, exhaustive brain research has granted psychopathy a more specific definition, establishing a much clearer gap between her and her sociopathic stepsister. Bearing this in mind, here are the key features that separate a psychopath from a sociopath. Number 1. Nature versus nurture. Psychopathy stems from biological factors, as psychopaths have abnormalities in their brain, which prevent them from feeling empathy towards someone who's in pain. Perhaps more worryingly, their brains also make them feel pleasure when they witness someone who's in agony. Although we are not granted much insight into Ramsay's childhood, certain passages of the book imply that the beast was always lurking within. In A Dance with Dragons, for example, Bolton states that Ramsay's mother, the miller's wife he raped, came to the castle asking for help because Ramsay was wild and unruly. In response, Roose gifted him a servant known as Reek, who would stink regardless of how many times he washed because of a condition he had presented since birth. Although Roose meant it as a jest, the bastard and his servant grew inseparable, with Ramsay once stating that Reek knew better than to deny him. Roose would sometimes wonder, was it Ramsay who corrupted Reek, or Reek Ramsay? Given that Ramsay got Reek number 1 killed, and he broke Theon Greyjoy with disturbingly creative torture, I think it's pretty clear who was deranged from the beginning. Sociopathy, on the other hand, is associated with upbringing, such as childhood trauma caused by physical or emotional abuse. It is also associated with exposure to a particular belief system, in this case, a pathological need for power. Raised in a highly patriarchal society, Cersei was marginalized by most of the men around her. For years, she was forced to do her father's bidding, fulfilling a marginal role as a woman and incubator, and enduring an emotionally abusive husband. Cersei Lannister thus grew to lust for power as means to obtain independence, as well as to ensure her survival. As several fans have pointed out, she constantly tries to compensate for the trivial role society set for her by attempting to be more violent or cunning and worthy of her position of power. Moreover, Cersei was born to a wealthy and noble house of the kingdoms, where she was raised to believe she could treat the small folk like scum. A clear example of this was Cersei asking her guards to beat up a 9-year-old servant until she lost an eye, simply because she had stolen a necklace. Cersei was 9 years old as well. In summary, psychopaths are born, sociopaths are made. Number 2. Lack of empathy versus a lack of sympathy. As we already mentioned, psychopaths are physiologically incapable of showing empathy, the ability to understand somebody else's emotions. Moving away from Ramsay's hellish treatment towards Theon, we'll talk about his treatment of his wife. No, not Sansa Stark, but Jane Poole in the books. Forcing her to pose as Arya Stark, Roose Bolton forces her to marry Ramsay, to legitimize his claim to the north. She is then repeatedly abused by the man, who forces Theon to watch and participate, with the girl even stating she was willing to do what Ramsay wants, even with the dog. Make of that statement and the bite marks on her body as you will. Sociopaths, on the other hand, are capable of feeling empathy, but they lack sympathy. In other words, they understand your emotions, they just don't care. Number 3. Moral compass, absent versus twisted. Psychopaths do not have a moral anchor that tells them what is right or wrong, which is why they don't feel guilt or remorse for the suffering they inflict upon others. Sociopaths do have a moral compass, but, as the title suggests, it has been twisted by their environment. As we know, every villain is the hero of their own story, and a sociopath will truly think that they're doing the right thing. It's just that their right is a little different to that of society as a whole. In the show, we're led to believe that King Joffrey ordered the killing of King Robert's bastards to protect his claim to the throne. In the books, however, it is Cersei who gives the order because she knew of Joffrey's illegitimacy. Besides, to her, butchering a bunch of children wasn't evil at all. It was necessary for the greater good of her family, which is to say, of herself. In terms of remorse, sociopaths do not feel guilty when they hurt somebody they have no attachment to, but they are capable of feeling guilt when they harm somebody with whom they share a deep emotional connection. Which leads us to our next point. Number 4, emotional attachment versus emotional control. Given that sociopaths are capable of feeling empathy and guilt, they are capable of forming emotional attachments with family, friends, and like-minded people. Conversely, psychopaths are incapable of forming these connections because they lack empathy, which is why they tend to establish artificial and shallow relationships with people in order to maintain emotional and physical control over them. Finally, number 5, calculating versus impulsive. Psychopaths have an innate capability to blend in with society. When engaging in criminal activity, they are more likely to use precautionary measures to avoid capture and detection. Moreover, they employ aggression in calculated moves, which will take down any barriers to their goals without drawing any attention back to them. Sociopaths, on the other hand, are less capable of playing the role of average citizen. They tend to commit spontaneous acts of criminal behavior with little emotional or physical control and without thinking of the consequences their actions may carry. Cersei's decision to grant immense power to the High Sparrow, for example, thinking he would be easy to control, is by far one of the most idiotic choices she's ever made. As somebody born to a wealthy family, Cersei must have known why King Maegor I Targaryen banned holy men from taking up arms. By the way, it's because they once caused one of the lengthiest and bloodiest rebellions in the history of the kingdoms. Now, as we know, it backfired on her, but her impulsive and rash power grab backfired on the people of King's Landing as well. Based on this analysis, I personally conclude that Ramsay Bolton is a psychopath, whereas Cersei Lannister is a sociopath. If you disagree with me, feel free to start an argument on the comments section, and if you liked this video, go ahead and check out the comic book version featuring Thanos versus the Joker, as well as the Star Wars version comparing Darth Sidious with Darth Vader. Also, don't forget to subscribe to watch future videos like Where does morality come from? Is it from our intentions or the consequences of our actions? Featuring beloved Ned Stark. Did Obi-Wan Kenobi really fail? And what is a hero? Comparing different characters from the Marvel Pantheon, as well as what makes a good villain? Featuring Superman.
That's enough.
I know it's soon, but think you'll ever love again? Maybe you won't kill your next family.
Lastly, follow Dystopia on Instagram if you're into daily memes, which you totally are. And if you want your opinion to feature on these videos, access weekly polls, weekly discussion topics, and the scripts of each video, go ahead and make a pledge on Dystopia's Patreon page. Slight change of tone here. If this doesn't sound like your thing, but you still like the video, I would really appreciate it if you help me out with a more personal matter. To do that, please check out the comments down below, and thank you in advance on behalf of me and my family. That's it for today, guys. Cheers for tuning in. Don't forget to like and share this with your mates. Welcome to Dystopia. I hope you enjoy your stay.